Starting up the show, we've got loads to get through. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's proclamation news and gatherings. Absolutism. Thank you all for tuning in daily. We're getting so many listeners, so many new subscribers joining in. We're actually building a radio station. We're on YouTube, we're on Castbox. We're proclamation news and gatherings on YouTube. Box. Please feel free to come by, listen in, share and subscribe. All welcome aboard. Thank you so much for coming through. We've got so much to get through today. If that is Tony, welcome to the show, my friend. Thank you so much for supporting the show. Absolute approach. Loyal support is in, day out. Same every day. As we go through with UK politics, we've got some more local news in Essex as well. That's my constituency where I am today. Thank you. Absolutely phenomenal as we're approaching Christmas month of giving. Here we go. COVID rash. Christmas rules will cost many lives. Christmas rational, isn't it? COVID rational. Christmas rules will cost many lives. The plan to ease COVID rules over Christmas in the UK is a rash decision that will cost many lives. Two leading medical journals have said. The Health Service Journal and British Medical Journal said people might see lifting of restrictions as permissions to drop their guard. Number 10 said the government has no plans to review the Christmas guidelines, but a minister warned people to keep social contact to a minimum over the 5 days of reduced restrictions. I think predominantly before all this come about, I did think, they're lifting restrictions a bit early. They're lifting restrictions a little bit early. Predominantly in the first case scenario. In the winter months, we knew that COVID was going to raise the infection rate. We all did. It's water the duck's back. That is inevitable to happen. But a minister warned people to keep social contact to a minimum over 5 days and reduce of restrictions. It comes as millions of people in London and parts of Hertfordshire and Essex prepare to move in England's toughest tier of coronavirus rules at 1 minute GMT on Wednesday. This is tomorrow, guys, ladies and gents. HSJ editor Alistair McLennan and BMG editor-in-chief Fiona Godley wrote that it was only the second time their publication had written a joint editorial. We are publishing it because we believe the government is about to blunder into another major error that will cost many lives, they added. If our political leaders fail to take swift and decisive action, they can no longer claim to be protecting the NHS. At the end of November, leaders of the 4 UK nations agreed to allow some coronavirus rules to be temporarily relaxed over the festive period. Look at the travel restrictions. It will be easy to allow up to 3 households to form a bubble and stay overnight at each other's homes from 23rd to the 27th of September. It's not many days, is it really? 8 days. 8 days. It's nothing. Officials in Northern Ireland are being urged to rethink the Christmas rules amid unprecedented pressures on some hospitals, while doctors in Wales said the relaxation of restrictions make no sense as COVID cases continue to rise. Looking at the Scottish First Minister, Nicola Sturgeon said people in Scotland should think really careful about gathering, adding that the best Christmas gift we can give family and friends is to keep our distance and keep them safe. Cabinet Minister Stephen Barclay told BBC he understood families wanted to meet up after a very difficult year, but added, I won't see my parents over Christmas, but my parents-in-law, and those are the decisions many families will take. It's quite ironic how, most men will take their wife's side of things when they go to see the families at Christmas, isn't it? It's a woman's world we live in, and most men will go in the traditional route of going to their wife or their girlfriend's families for Christmas. It happens in a lot of households, happens in many. We've got to trust the British people to act responsibly and do the minimum. that is possible for them in their family situation, he said. Mr. Barclay warned that 5-day easing of restrictions should not be misinterpreted, adding, "It's not that restrictions are being lifted in their entirety. A further 20,263 cases and 232 deaths within 28 days of a positive test were recorded in the UK on Monday. Government's figures. The higher numbers of deaths seen in the UK in recent weeks may be starting to fall, figures have suggested. When the government announced the relaxation of rules for Christmas, it was hoped cases would be failing right up to the festive period. It was mid-lockdown, and with the new tougher system of regional tiers in the pipeline, the hope was that the virus could be contained. That has not turned out to be the case of London and some of the surrounding areas into Tier 3. As always, the bottom line is the risk to the NHS. So it's worth pointing out that for all the pressure at the start of December, 1 in 9 hospital beds were still empty. I mean, anyone in my constituency, Clacton and Colchester, in Essex, we're not going to be heading into a Tier 3. I think it's going to go to stay in a Tier 2 system, and it's going to be re-looked at by number 10 officials. As always, the bottom line is the risk to the NHS, so it's worth pointing out that for all pressure at the start of December, 1 in 9 hospital beds were still empty. The full impact of the festive relaxation, of course, impossible to predict. UK Chief Medical Advisor Professor Chris Whitty has called it a modest relaxation after all. In Tier 3 areas, hospitality will still be closed, but for all but takeaways. The judgment that has been made is that the benefits outweigh the costs. Allowing families to come together will be an important boost after such a difficult year. The government believes, what is more, there was a fear the public would just ignore pleas not to mix. But it clearly comes with risks. That's why the public is being asked to exercise the caution. Scientists have warned the easing of coronavirus restrictions over Christmas by all 4 nations. It would cause a spike in infections. David Nabarro from the World Health Organization said the price of such a relaxation could be very, very high, and urged people to think carefully about their plans. Professor Stephen Riescher of University of St Andrews said the UK was heading for a disaster and would pay the price in the new year if people have too much social contact over Christmas. England Chief Medical Officer Professor Chris Whitty said people should meet at Christmas just because they can. Some 10.8 million people will join the Tier 3 on Wednesday, bringing the total number of people living under the toughest restrictions to 34 million people, or 61% of England's population. Under Tier 3, very high alert. Rules, pubs and restaurants must close, except for takeaway and delivery. And indoor entertainment venues such as theatres, bowling alleys and cinemas must remain shut. Schools in England have been told to remain open. Greenwich Council in South East London has withdrawn its request to schools in the area to move classes online, and amid a rise in COVID cases, after being threatened with legal action by the government. Thank you all for tuning in, guys. We've got quite a fair bit to get through today. I hope you're enjoying the show. Hope you come by time and time again. It's absolutely phenomenal to have you guys here supporting Proclamation News and Gatherings. It's becoming absolute populism. Castbox, Podbean, and YouTube. We're building gatherings on YouTube. People, subscribing. We're quite an entertaining radio cast, if I'm totally honest. Do a bit of singing, do a bit of entertaining, and also have a bit of netiquette research with the listeners sometimes. Hospitality, as unemployment rises again. There were 819,000 fewer workers on the UK company payrolls in November. That's at the start of the pandemic, official figures show. A lot of jobs been lost, But when we come out the other end of it, there's going to be more jobs, isn't there? So, we're going for a bit of a rough time. We've got to go for the rough to get with the smooth. Time and forbearance, and there'll be many jobs on the forefront for all of us to go and grant a new job. Hospitality was the worst hit sector, accounting for the third of job losses, followed by retail, according to the Office of Statistics. The unemployment rate rose to 4.9% of 3 months of October, with the jobless total of up to 1.7 million people. Redundancy hit a high record over that period. Why was hospitality suffered so much? While there have been no significant job losses in their other sectors such as aviation and manufacturing, hospitality has been most affected by coronavirus restrictions this year. Bars and restaurants had to close for months during the first lockdown and had to face strict compliance rules and further shutdowns since then. Thousands remain closed in areas covered by Tier 3 restrictions, and the industry will suffer even more when London, a hive of hospitality firms, enter the highest alert level on Wednesday. If you look at the number of people losing their job, more people on the furlough and vacancies available for people looking for jobs in the hospitality sector, all that adds up to a very difficult time for that industry. The ONS Director of Economic Statistics, Dan Morgan, told BBC's Today programme. So, everyone's getting furloughed off and then they're coming out the TV issues and the jobs are going back on for, it's not a permanent fixture. Not permanent fixtures they're putting the jobs out there for, are they? Temporary jobs. You're going to get a new job and you can get sacked in a couple of weeks because they're going back into the tier system. You can imagine the economic going up and down like a prostitute's drawers in a nice roundabout sense. Industry body UK Hospitality called the move to place London and parts of the Essex and Hertfordshire into Tier 3 illogical, despite the recent surge in infections. The spread is being predominantly driven through schools, yet once again, it is hospitality that will take the hit, said boss Kate Nichols. So many pubs, restaurants, bars, cafes and hotels, having invested so much to make their venues safe, are only just clinging on by the skin of their teeth. How are job seekers coping? Anna Grillo graduated with an English degree in September, but has been unable to find work since, despite having made applying for roles for a full-time job. It's extremely overwhelming, especially in a pandemic, as there's not as many people to turn to for support, she told BBC. She is looking for work in marketing and publishing, but it says competition is intense, so much so she even tries to submit applications with an hour of an advert being published. Some employers make us very aware that they are overwhelmed, so they are just going to take the first bunch, she said. Having largely supported herself through university, living back at home with her parents has made her feel a bit of a burden. I've been independent for 3 years and now I feel completely helpless, but I have no choice. Will things get worse? Redundancy hit a record of 370,000 in 3 months to October, according to the ONS, although this began to ease towards the end of the period. But the figures predate the November lockdown. Unemployment is expected to continue to rise, peaking at a rate of 9.7 this year. According to the Office of Budgetary Responsibility, the OBR, the government's independent forecaster. Redundancies at record levels. 370,000 workers were made redundant in the 3 months to September 2020. 370,000. It's crazy. Absolute crazy. Dropped down in, 2015, it was 100,000. And in 2020, straight up to 370,000 unemployment. Suran Firu, head of economics and British Chambers of Commerce, said the latest data confirms that the coronavirus continues to weigh heavily on the UK labour market. While the furlough scheme will help safeguard many jobs over the winter months, with business facing to protect of further restrictions and messy end to the Brexit transition period. Major job losses remain probable in the near term. The jobs numbers are again grim over the course of the pandemic, with 818,000 fewer employers on payroll since February, but without extension of the furlough scheme to March. They would have been even more concerning. The official headline unemployment rate is up to only a little 4.9%, but most of it was above 5%. These numbers can reflect mainly to the period before the second national lockdown and the first time they are broken down by the industry. Well over half of the lost employees during the pandemic have been in hospitality and retail. 465,837 out of 819,000. Health and social care have been an extra 74,442 jobs, while some optimism has emerged from the prospect of functioning vaccine. The next few months are likely to remain very challenging, with unemployment continuing to rise. The rises continue to be contained by the furlough scheme. Everyone's suffering, quite predominantly with mental health, loss of job. They're trying to get their hardest to seek work. You want to get your parents' house, you want to get your girlfriend's house, It's almost a cause of domestic abuse to each other. You need to get out. You need to find your own bit of space. They say, time apart makes the heart grow fonder, and that's exactly what you need. You need that breathing space. What do politicians say? Many companies begin to cut jobs in anticipation of the end of the furlough wage support scheme, which was originally meant to finish on the 31st October. Chancellor Rishi Sunak extended the scheme until March as the second England lockdown began last month, but some urge he should have moved sooner. Commenting on the latest unemployment figures, Mr Sunak has said, "We provided over 280 billion of support, including protecting over 1 million jobs with the furlough scheme and supporting millions of businesses to keep going with our loans, grants and tax cuts. But we know that, sadly, many people are gladly facing unemployment. That's why our plan for jobs is also helping to create new jobs, including through our 2 billion Kickstart scheme and expanding apprenticeships and traineeships." But Labour's Shadow Chancellor Annalise Dodds said the Chancellor's irresponsible decisions had cost jobs and left the UK with the worst recession of any major economy. It's no coincidence that redundancy rocketed to the record levels, with the clock was ticking down to the Chancellor's furlough cliff edge, and rising employer contributions were putting businesses under pressure. Employers can't afford to wait until the last minute again for this Chancellor to decide what happens to the furlough scheme in January. They need clarity, and they need clarity now. Proclamation news and gatherings, ladies and gentlemen. Proclamation news and gatherings. Brexit on a dish. Brexit on a dish. Not quite on a dish, is it? It's not quite a slap-up meal you wanted. It's is it? Are we leaving with Brexit? Are we going with the EU? Come on, let's wrap up a deal. Get it done. Get it delivered. Brexit. UK and EU restart trade talks after leaders' call. Michael Barnier is leading the EU's negotiation team in Monday's talks. UK and the EU negotiators have restarted talks over the post-Brexit trade deal in hope of securing an agreement. It comes after two sides confirmed on Sunday there have been made enough progress for negotiations to continue. EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said on Monday there had been movement in the talks and negotiators and not exhausted all options. But a UK government source later said there had not been significant progress in recent days. Time is fast running out to finalise an agreement before the UK's Brexit transition ends in just over 2 weeks. The decision to keep talking came after UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson discussed the main sticking points with President von der Leyen on Sunday. I mean, he's quite a phenomenal Prime Minister, isn't he, Boris Johnson? You know, he's not one of the people He's not a yes man, is he? He's still trying to stick with his side in the negotiations without letting the EU take in full response. That's a good sign of a good prime minister. Negotiation will continue in Brussels on Tuesday, but a new deadline for a decision has not been set. The ultimate deadline comes on 31st December. However, when the UK stops following the EU trading rules, I mean, let's face it, Boris Johnson, he's delivered Brexit, what the people want, and there's still a lot of critics putting him down for what he's doing. But he's doing a phenomenal job. It's doing a phenomenal job. Crime is at an all-time low. We've got more further policing. I mean, you still read about crime day in, day out, but not as much as we've had before. Further policing, bigger infrastructure. You can't knock a man for trying. Without a trade deal in place by then, the two sides would begin trading on the World Trade Organization (WTO) terms, meaning taxes or tariffs would be introduced, potentially raising the cost of imported goods such as food. I mean, I'm not a narcissistic man. You've got to remember, Sadiq Khan. I've always big up Sadiq Khan, the Labour. He's not supported enough in the Labour Party. I don't think he should be up there in Sir Keir Starmer's field. He's been Mayor of London for quite some time now, hasn't he? Why has Sir Keir Starmer all, jumped in the limelight all of a sudden? No disrespect to Sir Keir Starmer. He's probably got a bit of a CV. He's been a lawyer. He's been a lawyer in the past. But Sir Keir Mr. Khan. Let's talk about Mr. Khan. Mr. Khan has been Mayor of London for some time. So, we've got to give him the benefit of doubt. He should be in that limelight. Absolutely. Anyway, fishing rights, level playing field, rules and how far the UK should be able to diverge from the EU laws, and how any agreement should be policed remain major stumbling blocks. The EU's chief negotiator, Michael Barnier, has resumed talks with the UK counterpart to Lord Frost after briefing ambassadors of the EU member states. According to an EU source, Mr. Barnier is believed to have told them talks over a level playing field remained hard, but were moving towards an agreement. He's also said to have told them a wider deal could fall into place if a fishing rights can be identified, but a UK government source later downplayed progress, saying talks remain difficult and we have not made significant progress in the recent days, despite efforts by the UK side to bring energy and ideas to the process. Lord Frost has said a deal is only possible if it fully respects UK sovereignty. In an event on Monday, Ms von der Leyen said the issue of the level playing field was the one and only important question if the UK should continue to have access to the EU's single market. The EU Commission President added that either to play by our rules, because this is a matter of fairness for our companies, or the other choice is there is a price on it, and the price is border and tariffs. Labour's Shadow Cabinet Minister Michael Rachel Reeves welcomed the continuation of talks and said the worst outcome would be to crash out with no deal whatsoever on the 1st of January. The basics. Let's look at the basics. Brexit happened, but rules did not change at once. The UK to leave the European Union on the 31st January 2020, but leaders needed time to negotiate a deal for life afterwards. They got 11 months. Talks are happening in the UK and EU have until the 31st December 2020 to agree a trade deal, as well as other things such as fishing rights. If there is no deal, border checks and taxes will be introduced for goods travelling between the UK and the EU. But deal or no deal, but we still see changes. We will still see changes. We've all been waiting for this Brexit to be delivered or not to be delivered. Is it not to be delivered if we make arrangements, amendments to the EU? I believe so. This new phase of talks is expected to focus on how close the UK should stick to economic rules in the future. The EU is determined to prevent the UK from gaining what it sees as an unfair advantage of having tariff free access to its markets, not paying taxes on goods being bought and sold while setting its own standards on products, employment rights and business subsidies. The EU is reported to have dropped the idea of a formal mechanism to ensure both sides keep up with each other's standards and is now prepared to accept UK dividends. Provided there is no safeguard, there is a safeguard to prevent unfair competition. Fishing rights is another major area of disagreement, with the EU warning that without access to UK waters for the EU fleets, UK fishermen will no longer get special access to the EU markets to sell their goods. But the UK argues that what goes on in its own waters and its wider business rules should be under control as a sovereign country. What does it mean in Brexit trade deal terms to go the extra mile? That's the distance of the UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson said the European Commission Chief Ursula von der Leyen has promised to travel over the next days. But will the road take them to a deal or no deal? And who will compromise what to get there? EU contacts close to talk, so both sides are being constructive. And insisting negotiations aren't simply continuing because they're neither the EU. Nor the government want to be blamed in a no-deal scenario and prefer not to walk away first. Remember, what's said in front of the cameras is only part of the picture. We aren't behind the scenes in a negotiating room or on the close calls between Mr. Johnson and von der Leyen. But however, these talks rumble on. Ultimately, neither the government nor the EU will sign up to a deal if they can't claim it as a victory. It's like a battle of the wars, isn't it? Inside Parliament, is it a deal or is it a no deal? Boris Johnson is visit to India in a bid to boost trade ties. Boris Johnson makes his first official visit to India in January in a bid to boost trade and investment ties. Number 10 said the trip. The PM's first after Brexit transition period ends. Be a chance to discuss cooperation on defence and climate change. Downing Street is billing it as Mr. Johnson's first major bilateral visits since taking office. International travel has been curtailed during his premiership by COVID-19, alongside South Korea and Australia. India has also been invited to join next year's G7 Leaders Summit, which will be hosted by the UK. Talking about climate change, you could quite imagine, being a fly on the wall, the conversation. They're talking about 2033. They're talking about the ecosystem, everything being run by all the cars being run by electric. Some phenomenal things coming out there, isn't it? In the near future, you got to think of generations of our generation, our loved ones. Growing up. The UK has been said it is hoping to work towards a post-Brexit trade agreement with India after formally leaves the EU trading regime at the end of the year. I mean, when you die, you want to leave, you want to leave a bit of wisdom for your loved ones, don't you? You want to know that they're left in safe hands. We died and their children are left in safe hands for their future upbringing, for their adult life to bring up their own children, for their children's children, You want to know that the world's going to be safe. We talk about global climate change. We talk about eco-friendly. We talk about new technology. Absolute phenomenal. The two countries have signed partnership agreements in recent years to boost ties in areas including life sciences, IT, and the food and drink sectors. Mr. Johnson said the trip, which will be the first to the Asian country, he said as MP, would mark the beginning of an exciting year for global Britain. An exciting year for global Britain, Mr. Johnson said. He added that the visit would help drive a quantum leap in the UK's ties with India, which was an increasingly indispensable partner and a key player in the Indo-Pacific region. As part of the visit, Mr. Johnson will take part of the country's annual Republic Day event, which marks the anniversary of India officially adopting its constitution. Growth opportunities. Official confirmation of the PM's trip to India comes as a Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab continues a 4-day trip to the country this week. Speaking on Tuesday, Mr. Raab told reporters that being able to strike a UK-only trade deal was one of the advantages of leaving the EU's trading regime. I think sometimes we've been too focused just on Europe, he's added. Certainly, if you look at India and the Indo-Pacific region and take a long-term view, that was where the growth opportunities of the future will be. Thank you all for tuning in. Ladies and gents, it's Proclamation News and Gatherings with the prodigious appointment of Professor Johnson. Please share. Sharing's caring. You know, we're actually building a bigger, better establishment, a brand new addition. Absolutely. Flux with a show, flux with a flow, and away we go. Blackpool baby death. Man charged with murdering his own daughter. Her absolute horrific news. Man charged with murdering his daughter. His own daughter, his own flesh and blood. Could you Adam and Eve it? Proclamation News and Gab. That is your own flesh and blood. A man has been charged with murdering his 4-month-old daughter. You feel like almost choking on your own tongue as you read that out with your lips and your mind and your imagination. That is his own flesh and blood. Turning your back on your own flesh and blood. What an absolute disgrace. You know, some of us ain't fathers, but this just brings absolute strain to my men's rehabilitation. I'd love to see that man. That's all I know. Willow Lee, his daughter, died at Alder Hay Children's Hospital on December the 6th. Absolute shocking that her father took her own life. It's distraught, leaves you distraught and sickening belief. She was taken to hospital, Victoria Hospital, and transferred to Alder Hay Children's Hospital, but died on the 6th of December. Jordan Lee, 28, of Onslow Road, has been charged with her murder and is due to appear at Preston Magistrates Court on Wednesday. Lancashire Police said the post-mortem examination has been carried out, but further expert analysis was needed to establish a cause of death. I mean, what was going through his head at the death of his daughter? I mean, I could have died myself just to have my own daughter. I've got a son. I love my sons to bits, don't get me wrong, but to have my own daughter, you know, that's any man's dream, to bring up his own daughter. Any man's dream, and he's taking his own daughter's life. Absolutely disturbing news, absolutely shocking, absorbing information is coming over Proclamation News and Gatherings today. I don't talk about too much criminology, but coming across that is just, you know, it's burst a glimpse at life. Is that really reality reading? It's a horror story, isn't it? A horrific horror story. Whew. Anyway, as you ladies and gentlemen know, we've got to move on. Unfortunately, we want to stay in that conversation, you know. How can you let the condolences go to these newborn babies? These are not just alienated fathers. These are blooming, I don't know, absolute criminalised, alienated, distraught, mental health patient fathers. How could you do such a thing to a newborn baby? Anyway, we are sponsored by O2 providers. O2 providers have got the best signal network to all mobile phone devices. Got all the latest gadgets out, handheld mobile phone devices, and they've got the little MacBooks, not the MacBooks, the Mac tablets, iPad tablet things, and Hawaii tablet. Very, very cheap. Check with the O2 Guru on store, and they've also got O2 Priorities special offers. You know, Icon Outlet at the O2, a premium outlet shopping experience. You got many free giveaways. Make priority together with Disney. Make every day a Disney day. Win a pair of tickets to discover London's hidden gems. It's a prize draw. I think, you know, get the exclusive Christmas bundle for $19.99. It's festive indulgence to feel good about Christmas. You're looking at getting, you know, Protein Works, Umberto Gianni is a new designer. It's an aesthetics thing. End of year with luxury, longer hair. £17.25. You know, all special gifts, all special deals. Santa's brewing something special this Christmas. Save up to 31% on craft beer hamper. There you go. If you like a beer, there you go. Get cozy and get back to nature in the new year. Win one of 500 two-night staycations and a warming festive treat. Ends on the January 4th. Get cozy and get back to nature New Year. That is quite nice. You get like them, what they called it, glamping kind of type things. Give the gift to unforgettable experience. Save 25% on memorable days out. If you're in the on O2, make sure you check the O2 priorities on the website. Check with ring the guru. They'll give you a PIN number to log in. Find your musical mojo on a new year. Enjoy a free 3-hour studio session. Imagine that. It sounds epic. Private studios. You can go to a private studio for 3 hours. Get that Monday motivation. Free stress busting exercise class every week. Make it a fairy tale to start your new year. Win a family Ponto tickets. I'm not going to bore you to tears. Take your taste buds on holiday this festive season. Save up to £20 on delicious feast for two. Free phone charging if you need it. Create a delicious Christmas in a jiffy. Get a bite-sized Christmas cooking course for just £5. Many cheap offers. I'm not going to bore you to tears. Moving on with Essex, live in Essex. Thank you all for coming through. Ashton, welcome to Castbox FM. Hope you're well. Everyone on Castbox, thank you for tuning in. Please share and subscribe. This is in Essex. This is in my constituency. This is more horrific news. More criminology in Essex region, in the United Kingdom. Hey, Ashton, I'll be with you. 5 minutes, I'll be with you, Ashton. I'll be with you. We can have a good chat. Literally 5 minutes left of my journalism. Colchester Affleck Road. Police name suspect accused of murdering a man, stabbed to death. This is absolutely horrific. Horrific news. Another, murder. Another murder. A minute ago, I was just reading own father stabbing his newborn baby. Now, it's a knife crime. More on knife crime. Sporadic knife. A 25-year-old man was arrested later the same day. He was questioned by the police and has been charged and named. Sheldon McKay of Ridgewell Way, Colchester, has been given no more time to question a 90-year-old man who was also arrested on Sunday. Where they find these late on Thursday or early Friday and saw any suspicious activity which could be linked to this crime is urged to speak to them. Anyone in my Essex region, my friends or family know something about this murder scene. It's important. It doesn't make you a grass, doesn't make you a coward. It makes you, an humble gentleman or lady to come forward. This is someone's, son or daughter been stabbed to death. You got to come forward and put the mark on these idiots, these young juveniles, absolute idiots that are making such distraught to these families, taking someone's life with a blade. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. If you have any information about incest, crime team on 101, quoting the incident number 10 on December the 11th. So make sure if you're listening, just share my YouTube, share it on my Facebook, share it on your Facebook. Tell people to come forward. Tell them I said. Tell them Simon says come forward. Tell them Justin said come forward. It's nothing being a coward. Putting your name forward. It doesn't make you a grass. It makes you a strong advocate, putting your name in a frame like to see having a white Christmas. This is the last but not least of the estimate across Essex, with winter weather already making an appearance. There's already been a hit of snow in the county, but nowhere near the blizzards we've seen in recent years. Famously in 2018, beasts from the east battered Essex and UK as a whole. With Christmas around the corner, have been worried another bout of winter weather. There's even more rumours of the Beast of the East too. Beast of the East too. What a name to give a snow blitz. Slightly above average temperatures. So it seems to be coming week. We can expect temperatures to be slightly warmer than what we've been experiencing recently. Thank you everyone on my YouTube that is up for the show. Ashton, how you doing, mate? You cool? You still here?